Alright guys, this is Alex at Agoura Performance, and I think today we're going to be doing our first video for YouTube.
How did you get started?
So, I can go on this question for 30 minutes. It's very simple. I mean, it got to the point where, I was out of college. I was looking for a job. I found a job. During that time, during college, I was pretty much always messing around with the truck that I kept on taking to school. Started working for a construction company, and on my lunch break, I would pretty much street tune. Prior to this, I have already had 2-3 years of experience of street tuning, working on cars. So I was street tuning, and on my lunch break, I would get one tune done, and it would pay, whatever it would pay back in the days. And then I kind of just, after doing that for so long, I pretty much went ahead and just realized that, I was making more money in 1 hour than I was making in 8 hours at work. So I pretty much decided to, when I realized that it was time, there was a couple people out there that just told me, quit your job. If this is what you want to do, then don't be scared. So I did. Right about 1 year, I put my 2-week notice in, and I quit my job and I started street tuning. I would come home, I would, book appointments, I would street tune. I did that for 6 months. And then for the next 6 months, I was at my parents' working out of their backyard. And at that time, I was actually just not tuning anymore. I was doing cam swaps, turbos, nitrous, whatever. And I did that for another 6 months till it got to the point where I had enough business where cars didn't fit in my parents' house. So I got the whole look for a shop. You're taking up too much space over at my house. And I did. I looked for a shop, and here we are. Same shop I opened up 5 years ago. It's right here, still here. Don't plan on leaving anytime soon. And, that's a quick little rundown of how we got started. So
Tell us about all the shop cars and their setups.
first truck was what some of you guys know me for. It was a extended cab GMC Sierra. First truck that I ever had, first truck that I ever worked on. 2005 extended cab GMC. We started doing heads, cam, all the 9 yards on that stuff, and we got all that taken care of. Eventually it became a 408 stroker, 480 single turbo, made about 1,000 horsepower. I had that for a few years. That was pretty much my first actual truck. So we had that before we opened up the shop. After that, we did a Pontiac G8. We had a stock bottom end, LSA blower, made about 700 horsepower, heads, cam, pulleys. And we did that for, again, maybe 2 years. I can't remember. We went with a CTSV after, and the parts truck. Let's talk about the parts truck. Parts truck was, again, a 408 stroker, single turbo, single cab, 4x4 Silverado, and made about 1,200 horsepower. That thing was on about 24 pounds of boost. We had that also for about 2 years before it sold and went to Mexico. And then after that, or during that time, I also had a Cadillac CTSV, which started off as a stock bottom end, 800 horsepower car. Ran 9 seconds in the quarter mile, and right after we swapped out the engine, we went with the Ford short block LSA and put twin turbos on it, which eventually went 1,100 horsepower and ran bottom nines. And then after that, we are where we're at right now. We have a Chevy SS. Started off as a stock bottom end, E85 full bolt-on with the blower. Made 930 to the wheels, ran 942 at 147, and broke 2 diffs, 2 rear ends. Came back, swapped the cradle, swapped the drive shaft, and swapped the engine. And got a 15-inch conversion, did all kinds of changes, and took it back to the track. That went 942 just this past weekend, 942 to 152 miles an hour. So that's where we're at right now. We'll probably get more into detail about this car, since we do have a lot of people asking questions as far as what's the setup, what's exactly done to it. Again, very basic setup, nothing crazy, just a combination that's pretty much working. So we'll get more into detail about that later. But those are pretty much the amount of the cars that we've had since we've had the shop, and where they've been and the type of power they've made.
Give us a budget turbo kit recommendation.
Budget. That question is it sucks because turbo kits is not something you want to go budget on. There's plenty of turbo kits out there that are budget, but I will not even recommend them because we've had our share of experiences with them, and I just don't think it's worth it. As far as what do I recommend, which would be a completely different question, is there's a few companies out there, KB Racing and Trick Turbo. Two of the more of well-known companies that are known for Silverados and their turbo kits. Plenty of people out there have them. We recommend them. They're not your affordable everyday turbo kits, but I guarantee you that once they're installed and up and running, you won't have to worry about them in a year having issues with them. So as long as you get a good turbo kit and you get a good turbo, obviously intercooler, wastegate, blow off valve, all that has to be name brand. Stop going with this affordable budget China stuff, because at the end of the day, something happens, your wastegate gets stuck, it's all due to the fact that it was a budget wastegate, and you don't want to do that. So those two name brands for the trucks, and check them out, visit their website, and we'll go from there.
Best ZL1 setup.
I think we're gonna have to move on to another question. ZL1 setup. I can give you guys 10 different setups for a ZL1. Is it an LS motor? Is it an LT motor? What's your budget? I mean, we can do your typical heads cam setup, or we can do an aftermarket heads, aftermarket cam, depending on the fuel system. I mean, too many factors as far as going with that question. Maybe if they get more specific, we can do a couple things. Obviously, if you're trying to get something in high horsepower, it's going to take some money, and your everyday setup people that do the upper pulley cam heads E85, it'll be a complete different setup for them than it would be for somebody who wants to do aftermarket heads, aftermarket blower.
Is New Era taking over NorCal?
I can't answer that either. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. We're here. We put out as much work as we can. We try to do the best of the best. And, we just appreciate all the customers from NorCal that come down here and get tuned by us. Some of them get work done by us. All we can do is pretty much put out as much work as we can and the best work that we can. And, hope that we can get customers pretty much everywhere. Just like we have customers from Canada, Arizona, and Mexico. So we just got to keep on doing what we're doing and hope that, customers take the drive and don't mind coming down here and getting work done by us. So we'll keep on trying. We'll keep on doing as much as we can.
Would you consider tuning another platform?
That's another hard question. Apparently everything's hard right now. Yes and no. Apparently looks like if everybody's been keeping up with the news, GM's trying to go electric. So since I only do GM, will there always be work out there? Probably, and not everybody gets rid of their 1970 LS swap Chevelle. So definitely something that we could think about. Will I do it now? No. Will I do aftermarket ECUs? Yes, we've actually started, opening our mind to tuning Holley, Pro EFI, Motec, stuff like that. But as far as, Ford, Dodge, at this time and day, and I'm going to say we're not going to be doing that anytime soon. Have I done it? Yes. But everybody out there who claims they can tune a Ford that can tune a Chevy or can tune a Mopar, it's not that easy. So I stick to pretty much what I know and what I know that I can do and I'm best at, and we stick with GM at this moment. So we're probably going to keep it that way for a while until, things start to change.
How do you SMOG cars with a lot of mods in California?
That question probably can be answered right now, since we're going to have to talk about that later, because not something we're trying to bring up right now. Off-road use only. That's all we do here. So
Mr. Garcia says, not a question, but wanted to say you've come a long way.
Guys, Mr. Garcia, it's been a while. It's been hard. You get a lot of shit from people. People tell you don't forget where you came from. We don't. We know exactly where we came from. And if I'm ever online talking smack, from somebody who's coming up, it's not that I see it as a bad thing. It's just that, you know, if you put out good work, whether you're a shop or a backyard guy, you know, you're gonna get good reviews. So people nowadays grab an HP tuner box and thinks it's easy to just go in there and do some programming, and you got math tables looking like the Rocky Mountains. You know, of course I'm gonna say something about it. So, you know, I know where I came from. You know, I appreciate all my followers. I appreciate all my people, all my customers, everybody who's supported us. And, you know, we're gonna keep on doing what we do and go from there.
What's the fastest car you've worked on?
That's gonna have to be Mike Swanson, actually. 6th gen Camaro, 416, Magnuson 2650, fuel system, built 8-speed transmission. We do a lot of the newer stuff pretty much. And his car actually holds the record of fastest production 6th gen till this date. At an 840 at 162 miles an hour. So super happy and proud of that car. He pretty much, it was a thing, he put it together, we put it together. You know, he works on his own car, so that's pretty good. We did a lot of the tuning for it. So that car to this day doesn't dyno too much. I mean, dyno's not a happy dyno, I'll tell you guys that much. But we see about 1,075 out of that car, 840s. And till this day, I would say it's the fastest car that we've put out on the streets, not being a, you know, full gutted race car. I mean, we're talking about cars that you can drive every day. All right, guys. So I think that's going to be it for the first video. I will get all this squared away, go ahead and put it on YouTube, and hopefully you guys can enjoy it.